Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, when I was 10 years old, I got my first job. And it would require skill and perseverance and patience, and it would have a real potential economic impact on our family hog farm. My dad hired me, and he paid me 15 cents a unit. What was my job? It was shooting sparrows around our farm. At that time, there was a disease going around rural America, and sparrows were taking it from farm to farm. And so it had a real practical purpose, but as I'm a parent now, I look back on it. I used to tag around with my dad all the time, and I wonder maybe if he just kind of wanted to give me something to do in addition to it. But I had a lot of fun that summer going around the grain bins and the sheds on our farm and our buildings and trying to catch that bird unawares. And I think over the entire summer, I may have earned around 45 cents. So it wasn't a big money maker, but I sure had a lot of fun, and I learned some important things. I learned that using firearms can be a fun hobby and hunting can be fun, and also that using firearms can have a real practical purpose. And over the years, I've shot a lot of different kinds of firearms now in different sizes, but I really appreciate what our founding fathers did when they established our Second Amendment and gave us that as our basic right. You know, this afternoon, my colleagues and I want to highlight not only why the Second Amendment is important to us and to the people in our districts, but how it is also important to this country. We want to dispel the myths that decisions about how to address violence are based on facts and not emotions. You know, as a lifelong gun owner, as well as a former public school teacher, I appreciate the thoughtful discussion that our country's been having after the tragic school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. My heart has gone out to those families, as I know everyone in America's heart has, and our prayers as well. We want to understand, and I understand the desire to stop the violence. I share that goal, but believe many of the proposals being put forth miss the mark. So let's look at some of the proposals and compare them to the facts. One proposal that is being talked about and has been talked about is to ban what's called assault rifles. Well, the fact is that lawbreakers ignore the laws. Banning firearms would only take guns away from our law-abiding citizens and ensure that lawbreakers have guns. You know, I was watching TV a couple of weeks ago, and I saw the sponsor of the Senate bill to ban these assault rifles, and she was giving a rationale why she thought it was important, and she was saying, well, gangs in California have assault rifles, and we've got to get these off the streets and out of the hands of our gang members, so we need to pass this bill. And I just kind of scratched my head and I thought, do you really believe that gang members are going to listen and pay attention to a law that Washington, D.C. passes? They break laws every day. I really can't see them getting together and have an organizational meeting and saying, well, let's have the legislative report and have the gentleman in the gang member say, well, you know, they passed a new law in D.C., and so I guess we can't use assault rifles anymore. I mean, we've got to look at the facts about whether passing this law would really address violence. In this case, it certainly wouldn't. As far as that legislation, also, the word assault is an adjective. It is not a gun. What gun control advocates call an assault rifle is actually a regular rifle with only a few cosmetic differences on the outside, such as a pistol grip, a hand guard, and a removable magazine. It is misleading to label firearms with negative words in order to advance a gun control agenda. The fact is that more deaths have been inflicted using fists and knives and baseball bats than with a gun. In fact, 1.5 times as many homicides are committed with blunt objects such as a baseball bat, over 2 times as many homicides with fists, and 5 times as many with knives. So why aren't proponents of bans on firearms calling baseball bats assault baseball bats or assault knives? Well, the reason is because the American people know that objects are only tools of people who wish to do others harm. They are not the cause. Now, it's a slogan, it's a bumper sticker, but it is true. Guns don't kill people. People do. So that's one proposal that I think misses the mark. Another proposal is to what's called create universal background checks. Well, the fact is that the vast majority of gun sales already have background checks with the sale, because all firearm sales through dealers must complete the instant background check. The only transactions that do not require the background checks are sales between individual gun owners, and they are not the problem. Requiring law-abiding citizens to have to go to a dealer and get a background check on their neighbor in order to sell him a gun would do little to stop mass killings. Imposing the new law would not have stopped the Sandy Hook killer. He stole the guns he used to carry out his evil scheme. Same with the Aurora, Colorado shooter in the movie theater. He actually had passed a background check. So passing a new law like this does not really address the issue. So it's time for all of us to address the real issue of how to protect our children in schools, rather than to use a tragedy to impose more government control on law-abiding citizens or infringe on our Second